This is, now, that is a building that is across the road from my favoured sleeping place, but only 2 or 3 nights a week. Great thing about that building is those windows are upper windows that nobody ever looks out of. Now, this is well, it's too fancy a word, parable, but a better word is vehicle. What do I mean? I've got to speak super quick because this is my very old phone and doesn't have much battery. Also, the pixels, it's less pixels or whatever. But right. Now, if you don't know what the word parable means, or that something that one states or shows is a vehicle for something else, basically bugger off to TikTok, where yesterday Keir Starmer made his first ever use of TikTok to announce, to first announce a government policy. And then you have a silly woman in America who's blamed her social media addiction rather than on her parents or friends or contemporaries on TikTok. Now, I've looked at TikTok once. There's one great thing on there, and the sound is so crap, and also the censorship is absurd. One of the greatest pieces of film ever is the 1971 Terry Reid Dean, Dean, and that's Reid. But I think it's down as Glastonbury 1971, where a true soul man is. And I did actually go to one or two little festivals like that in the late 70s, early 80s. They were the real thing. They were superb and true freedom. And where the guy is driving around on his motorbike and the woman's jugs are bouncing up and down naked, you're not even allowed to show that, which is the fundamental change in British society. Anyway, to the point. Right, vehicle. I can't stand vehicles. Right, this is a vehicle. And it is correctly entitled, God, I'm Thick. I'm really thick. Right, so this is my 5th winter that I've spent only in this van. Only, nowhere else. I tell a lie, 2 nights, the 2nd winter, was spent at a lady's house where I was trying to rescue her life, which she'd completely fucked up by a fraudulent healing festival that was coming back to bite her in the arse. Right. The 2nd winter, there were weeks at -10. Last night was about -3. I know, because when I woke up this morning, the windscreen, it's still there. There's still a bit of ice. Right. Now, this is a vehicle. I'm so thick. Now, this winter has just been magnificent, not because of where I am. This is like the most... T.S. Eliot wrote the poem The Wasteland. This whole area, this whole county is a total wasteland of... Now, I'm even being illusionisted the last couple of weeks by a couple of blokes who advertised there's work available. And no, the first one is much more important. It is, in fact, that is a vehicle. It is because this is a very, very literary man. It seems I've wasted about 15 hours on his very well-funded project when he's just full of... No, it's all a hall of mirrors. Right, forget all them. I don't care. Energizes me. But here's the point. Right, this winter actually hasn't even felt like a winter. And there have been enough mornings of -5. Okay, now the kettle's boiling. I'm thick. Right, so I'm actually using now my very, very... It's about a 7 or 8 year old phone. The battery doesn't last very much. Now, under my arm here is my so cheap, tinny, horrible... We'll come to that another day. When I wake up in the morning, and here's the thickness. Why didn't I think about this before? And this is the vehicle, the parable almost. Like, I only, incoming to me, including what's been stopped, and I've spent about 2 years just fighting to retain it, is including my quite legal working tax credit as a self-employed occasional. I would be more of a worker, but you get deceived, lied to continually. I had the worst ever one, really, in December. Anyway, to the point. They don't bother me in the slightest. I mean, this is the true state of this society. Because if people book you, take you on, use you to do your tough work in the hills, and then you discover that their promise is a big word for, like, communication. Yeah, that job's continuing. Yeah, 2 days a week, definitely. And then just like that, I know why. Because of an illness that is a controlly illness. I've encountered it for 10 years, and I'm going to write proper essays about it one day soon. Right, why am I so thick? What's been the big... Well, it really works around here. They're too frightened to even think about you, really. They just stare at you, so that's wonderful. But to try and keep to the point, I've no interest in them whatsoever. Why am I so thick? So, when I wake up in the morning, usually about 5:30, first thing I do, assuming I've remembered to turn it off, which just very occasionally I don't, is to put my phone under my armpit for 10 minutes. In desperation. I mean, what was I saying? Was I going to say? Yeah, I bring it on. No, not on average. It's been pretty consistent for 5 years, 10 actually. £5,000 a year. That's it. Nothing more. Not a penny more, except for the wonderful what's-his-face, Mr. Walker, who's recently put in £175, I believe, although I can't work out the Skype. That's a real head fuck, and it takes a week for it to come. Now, here's the point. So, I never even use teaspoons. I just do that. Right, the point. Why am I so thick? And I really mean thick. Okay, because particularly in the -10 winters, basically, if I go to bed, now, here is my old, still some, you see, I've got, I need a film camera woman, which I've been trying to get for 15 years. Is that gonna, right. This is how, I thought I was being smart. So, this is my extremely shitty 7-year-old laptop, right, that is in such bad condition, but it's got 45 minutes of battery in if it's fully charged and warmed up before I turn it on. That 45 minutes is quite important. Often I just end up using it as a power bank. In other words, I turn it on and plug my phone in because the phone's dying. But it's got to be warmed up first. But this is how enjoyably subtle it all is. If I actually sleep with that next to me, if I don't sleep with it on a cold night, it's charged up in the afternoon, not every day. It will lose about 25% of its battery overnight. And then when I turn it on, if I haven't warmed it up, it will last about 15 minutes. But if I sleep with it, actually under the duvet, carefully obviously, it will only lose about 10% of its battery overnight. Ditto the phones. If I turn the phone off and put it under my pillow, which keeps some bodily warmth going. Right, but here's the point. Why am I so thick? The real problem is my older one, this one, which is just my only communication tool, really. So, out of the armpit, before you turn it on. Before you turn it on. Now, why didn't I think of this 5 years ago? Oh, no, I've already filled it up. Right. Why didn't I think of the following 5 years ago? And this is the real key thing. This is my morning at 5:30. the most important thing of all is this. So it's kind of got basic warmth. It's probably steamed up again. Basic warmth inside of it. So I immediately, when I get up, love a couple of roll-ups, my only luxury, and 17 black coffees. No water throughout the day. You don't need hydration. My health is absolutely bloody brilliant. I never drink water. Just 17 or even 25 really strong black coffees. Now, but I'm so thick. Now I'm going to do it with this one because this is the one though that matters. I've warmed it up under my armpit for 10 minutes before turning it on. If the batteries say about 75%, this is the old one. Okay, if it's the old one, turn it on. Cold morning, it just crashes. It often just goes into this weird. In 10 minutes, it's just turned it off, and then once you've plugged it into a charger later, it says battery 0. It takes ages to come back up. But I'm so thick. Why didn't I think of the following? This simple. Now I don't use the stupid word hack. That simple hack has totally transformed this winter, in that I don't have to worry about it. As long as I know when I go to sleep there's 75% battery, because it's not a stress. There's no point being in communication with anybody in this country. None. Zero. You just get buggered around by everybody. I don't tell people I live in a van until I kind of suss them out and like check out for prejudice or whatever. So about 5 minutes like that, which is painful because I do desperately want to get into that coffee. The critical thing is, the first stage of this is the coffee cup has got to be pretty full. So, and obviously also, see, you can actually see there, doing it such that it's not going to get steam into the lens, even though they should be sealed, but being careful, right? So, just 5 minutes there. It's astonishing. The phone really warms up. And then, so 5 minutes later, clean off the damp, and then often I'll put it back under my... I mean, the only painful bit of this is sticking a cold phone under your armpit is a bit tough. And then if I want to turn the phone on, just remember to put it back under my armpit, and then it's lovely and toasty. And I've been living like this for 15, 16 years. 20 really, 22 in fact, really, in certain ways. So the important thing is I always buy shirts with shirt pockets. So then, without the cover on, put it in there and just keep it there. Aha, but then there's a part 2. Now, yet another gibber brought this into my life. There was something else I was going to mention. Yes, now, one would hope this is an Anker. It's gone wonky, it's intermittent, weird. Now, it is a sealed unit, so, because that was charged up, has got a few, in theory, it's got a few phone chargers in it, but it's so unreliable. But then what I do, having had a couple of slurps of coffee, because it's got to not be full, is I do this. Now, that cup, it fits into my normal cup. Now, if you want to... Oh, it's a bit dirty. But anyway, cheapest insurance going. Plus, if you want to fuck my life, okay? Oh, yes. See, vehicles. Now, I put stuff on Substack. I think I'm getting a little bit of a reputation as a wise sage, which is all I want. I get likes and comments. I don't read comments, but I get likes from accounts that look like they're quite erudite book philosophy readers or sites or identities. Okay, so yes, the only thing I can't do, see, I just do not have time. this one here will be warmed up because I know I've got to move in 10 minutes. I don't have to, but I'm going to, because I don't like to be somewhere where the people start to come to their recycling, etc. Oh, mustn't forget. Right, now, if that's warmed up, obviously carefully, for God's sake, don't put it in the wrong way, then that, just let it kind of warm through, get the warmth into the battery, which of course will take a little bit longer. The thing I've really, this winter though, this winter's been the most perfectly zenny of all winters I've ever had, actually. It's been absolutely beautifully zenny. Not because Mr. Walker has paid £176.50, but because it's just like, you give up. There's no point. If even the people who've kind of talked about, well, used me to work for them in the last 5 or 6 months, can't be trusted ever, there's no point. Don't care about anything. It's wonderful. It's true freedom. Well, they're all going on about medical freedom, this, that, and other freedom. It's true freedom. Right, back to the point. Yes, so that, let the warmth seep into the battery, which I guess takes a bit of time. Yes, and the other thing this winter I was about to say, because I don't want to seem to be a complete, absolute nutcase, but I'm going to go, assuming I remember, I've got to go back to my point. How thick I was. I mean, this really has been transforming, because it means that I can relax in the morning. Because in the past few years, just occasionally, like, there I am trying to grab the daughter who seemed to engage for a few months, but his Stockholm syndrome is really serious, or whatever. It's good to talk about everything, but no, there's no point, because everybody, now I know the South, they just don't talk about anything. They all go to workshops saying, we've got to talk about things, but they don't really talk about their real truths, and I'm just doing one, okay? Why was I so thick that I didn't think about this? My point being, as a vehicle, something to sort of, there are dozens, hundreds of aspects of being a human being where, I mean, the point is, vehicle, is this is kind of critical to me. It's not critical. It's not, nobody's going to die if I wake up in the morning and for a few hours I'm not going to have my phone available due to, well, I am actually waiting for somebody to contact me. I don't think he will. He said he would regarding work. But back to the point. Yeah, this is like totally transformed, because the winter, I actually like winter. I love summer, but this means it's been so relaxed. Like, oh, I don't have to worry about the phone dropping out of the battery, dropping out of the phone. And because I've figured this now, I don't use the word, but this hack, this new system that, and my equipment is older than ever, and I've experienced this in the past winters. It's problematical, and this little piece of shit computer is just so shit, it's ridiculous. I'll come to that another day. I mean, it's hilarious. And nobody talks about something. Even I used to know very well James Hanning, who was the associate editor of the Independent on Sunday and Evening Standard. And I met James about 7 or 8 years ago. I only knew because about 30 years ago I rented a shitty old cottage from him. He can't do me for slander, because even though I thought it was hilarious, the electrics were so bad. One night I was asleep with somebody I picked up, a French woman. We got together at the local horrible night spot, and woke up in the middle of the night, and the electric blanket was actually on fire. It was, I mean, I don't think I've ever used, no, I'd never used it, but she was a little bit complaining. She was a Breton. Anyway, and talk about waking up and like the bed is on fire. I'm serious. It actually scalded. I think it scalded her and me. But like, anyway, back to the point. Yeah. So speaking to James about 7 or 8 years ago. No, it was 10 years ago. I happened to randomly see him. James, it was then the Tories. Yeah, they're bringing in something that's going to eviscerate the very rural up-to-date economy, which is you could claim if you work for 20 hours or 15 hours down the supermarket or as a bog cleaner, and you can't get any more work, you can claim working tax credit, which is a top-up. It's just basically, I'm pretty sure they've got it in America actually as well. And everybody makes the mistake about welfare, and this is not what this recording's about. It's like Britain has the lowest effective welfare payments or safety net, or call them whatever you want. It's just the bottom third mean topping up. We have the lowest in Europe. This is said, and I'm sure it's not quite true that exactly those words, but we are very much towards the bottom if you work out across the board. I mean, the housing benefit is by far the most important element, blah, blah, blah. But I said, James, they've made it clear they're going to cut working tax credit for people who are self-employed. If you're being the bog cleaner at minimum wage, and you've got a difficult period and you're only getting 10 or 15 hours a week, I mean, because often in the countryside there's no options. You can't go and get a job in Amazon 50 miles away. Anyway, James, they've made it clear that they're cutting it. And he derided me. It was the only time I've known him. And he even used me as his spokesperson on family matters in his newspaper a couple of times. He was like, oh, don't be daft, you're stupid, you're mad. No, that actually came to pass. It came to pass in 2018, 18 or 19. They confused it into, it was a con. Oh, we're going to apply a minimum income floor. After you've been self-employed for a year, and if you're in the working tax credit system, which they hated because they thought people were exploiting it. It was only like 50 quid a week, for God's sake. Anyway, so it's like they will assume you're earning £2,000 a month, which they do. That's the system. And the so interesting thing is, as soon as the pandemic came along in 2020, within 1 week, Sunak was up in Parliament saying, we're cancelling the minimum income floor. In other words, they knew that this was an excruciating penalty, particularly on the rural self-employed. So they cancelled it. And I messaged James saying, James, look, I was right, matey. You should have been writing about this, because they've left this working tax credit in if you work for whatever. But if you're self-employed, which a lot of ordinary people in the countryside have been, and self-employment has massively increased. I think it was something like about 3 million 10 years ago, and I think it's towards 6 million now. But you can't get working tax credit. It's gone. That's it. They've sneakily reduced it for the self-employed, which is far more people in the countryside. Why have I been waffling on about that? Oh yes, I'm a world record fucking grifter in that I managed to keep my God, it's been a fun battle for about 3 years, 4 years really. And a big advantage if you're homeless. You say, oh no, I can't get any, I have to stay within this system. But a couple of years ago, or a year and a half ago, they even right, well, so as you can get more work, they even okay, you got a free laptop. So it took about 3 months to get it. It cost me. I had to go back. It cost me more than this piece of shit is worth. And then it breaks within 6 months, and there's no guarantee. You can't get the paperwork out of the DWP. I mean, it's just madness. And you have to pick it up from Argos on this scheme. I mean, this is £100 worth. It's like such a piece of shit. It's got only 5 gigabytes. Anyway, why did I even mention that? I shouldn't be, because it's irrelevant. It's just funny. Aha. But there is some story connected to that in December, which is, again, a vehicle. And I'm going to put it up at some point. In fact, I want to write it. Okay. But back to my point. I am stupid. To just persist over the winter is, in some ways, very tough. The most important part of my morning, even though it's the least important part, of course, because nobody ever uses phones or digitals meaningfully, is to turn the phone on so that it's going to keep going. Now, I'm only recording this because I know there's a half an hour of charge to put back into this phone. I'm so ahead of the game. I've done my second stage of spring cleaning yesterday. That's it. I'm totally ahead of the game. I'm just waiting for a couple of men who'd very much implied there's work, doing useful things that they need doing. Anyway, let's keep to the point. But I'm so stupid. Now, the vehicle, the parable in this is even the bloke who isn't entirely stupid and depends on his phone being warm in having battery in the morning, hadn't figured that simple thing. Just putting it on top of the cup of coffee was the answer to the solution all along. Actually, for 16 years, I spent the winter, or 3 winters, the winter of 2009-10, 3 winters then, and they were -20 for a couple of years, living in unheated small spaces. How stupid am I? I really mean it. It's actually laughable. I wonder how many other simple solutions to problems, but I'm not talking about technical problems. I'm only interested in psychological problems that everybody else is bloody stuck in. How many solutions, because of hubris and arrogance, even though I don't have those really, but how many of those have we missed in this 50 years of everybody pretending we're the masters of the fucking universe? Yeah, that's a good vehicle